And welcome, folks, to the talk show, Let the Truth Be Told. I'm your host, Pastor David. And, folks, it is All Out Wednesday. There's nobody that's going to be sacred. There's no topic that we're not going to explore. So if you ain't got nothing to do, call your friends and let them know you're listening to Let the Truth Be Told radio. And I'm your host, Pastor David. Y'all come on in. Thank you. Y'all come on in. And folks, we got a great show. I'm telling you, we had a great conversation last night. Those who didn't watch it, you missed it. Miss Donna Jackson was in the house and talking about financial tariffs and all those things. But first, let me give all praises to God and my Lord and Savior, Yahshua of Nazareth, for making it possible for me to be here. And I want to welcome everybody to the show. Folks, this is All Out Wednesday. And what I mean by that, we're going to talk about some of the black politicians and really politicians in general. I don't basically care. But it has seemed to come on my radar about Miss Jasmine Crockett, she is a mirror of Kamala Harris. She speaks about things that she really don't understand. She says things off the cuff. And it's the continuation to the American people and patriots across this country, especially black citizens. We should be darn sick and tired of all these black politicians, especially from the Democratic side, who for the past 4 years have been silent, who've said nothing about the migrants who have come here, who've said nothing about the economy, the wars. Y'all watching this show, y'all know how bad it's been with Joe and the Democrats for the last 4 years. But Miss Crockett continues to never cease to amaze me with the things that come out of her mouth. And yet, as a black politician, the area that she represents is a hellhole. So in saying that, I'm going to get all my guests in. We got a panel. We're going to talk about some things. They got some things they want to talk about. But it's All Out Wednesday, y'all. Come on, let's get it in. Welcome. Listen. All right. So I want to get y'all thoughts on this. Our economy was tore up for 4 years. Now President Trump is in office, creating at least the type of continuity to where this country can get back to the way it was before the woke generation jumped in. But my thought is that all the black political leaders that we have in the United States, and this is what the civil rights game was about. It was to be able to make sure that black leaders could get into the Congress, into the Senate, and become president of the United States. That mission was accomplished, but the people that we have that are representing us has not been good for the black community. Your thoughts on that? Miss Jackson, you up new on the show, on the panel. We want to welcome Miss Peyton Jackson to the show. We're going to let you go first dibs on it. Go ahead.
Thank you. Well, I never said that I was a Democrat, but as you all may know, we're spoon-fed that. I was raised to vote Democrat down the ballot with no question. And if you were a black Democrat, then that was a plus. But what I've learned over the past 4 years has been a major wake up call, not only locally, but on a state and federal level. Black politicians aren't doing what they're supposed to do, but the problem that I'm seeing is the community. It's not just the black politicians, it's the people who keep them in office, it's their fan base, it's the corrupt neighborhood associations, it's the corrupt churches, the corrupt pastors. So this is a system era, not just a politician era. The politician is what we allow, but the black people or the black community, we don't hold black politicians, especially Democrats, accountable, and that's the problem.
Doc?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely correct, Peyton, and welcome to the panel and to the show. What I find really sad in what you said is just how they're bought and paid for, right? Because even if the black community isn't specifically funding them, someone is. And someone's actually funding them to keep the black community on the plantation and keep them at heel so they never leave, right? It's like, we just want you to vote. We want your votes. Even if you don't support us, just give us your votes, but we're not going to do anything in return for you. And it's come to a point where Black Americans are fed up with it. They're just like, okay, we get the game. And now that we have the game, now we want you to do your job. Now they're just running scared. Like, how dare you ask, us to do your job? I mean, even Steve Harvey did that with Kamala Harris when she was running. He was like, you guys need to back up off her. She's got a lot on her. I'm like, bro, she's vice president. She's supposed to have a lot on her. She's supposed to do her job. And she's not doing her job, and we all see it.
Andre?
Yeah, and I'm in total agreement with what Peyton is saying and Dr. Nichols. What I'm finding with this situation with politicians is that you guys are correct. The politicians are only backed by their constituents, and whatever their constituents want is what the politicians will support. Now, I think we have an opportunity on this network through the Let the Truth Be Told network and through the show that Peyton and I are going to do, the Policy Barnes and Jackson, the PB&J Hour. We're going to speak to some of this truth. And, as you were saying, Pastor Lowery, she speaks against a lot of things that she doesn't even know about, and immigration is one of them. And as we kind of keep discussing this, I will kind of list out some things that she's voted on and against that are really against what her constituents actually need.
And you know what? The thing that I really want to say to the American people and patriots across this country, our country was in real good shape back in the day, because that was the big push for me as a young man growing up. They talked about how there was no black politicians and how, black politicians was forging the way. And if we only had black political leaders, that it would be a total difference in our society. And believe me, the black politicians in my day, they did their job no matter what. If they hated each other, the community was at hand first. And I actually watched, because I'm from a political family, I've actually watched my grandmother, who was a Democrat, who hated Republicans, still do what was best for the people in the community. And I think that is the biggest shame of all, is that we got these black elected officials. We have these organizations, like you were saying, Ms. Jackson. It's true. It's the pastors. It's the outside organizations that have direct link to the people that are failing the communities. Because when I came along, again, I'm using it as a reference, because just like the stuff that they put into the schools, we was talking about the homeschooling situation yesterday. Homeschooling been around a long time, and it was used mostly for people with religious ideas that didn't want their children going to school to learn certain things. But now the school system has failed our children, and we see all these black political leaders in place. and yet they're not saying anything about the curriculums. They're not saying anything about what we should be doing as a community as whole, as far as helping our children with the learning gap, because there is a learning gap between our children and other races. But from this point, we never see our politicians say nothing, but they always can come out against the grain, just like Ms. Crockett has, and say things that's not good for us, or even have the concerns to care about the Black community. What are y'all thoughts? Y'all can jump in on that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the sister girl thing has got to stop.
Uh,
It's just a very uneducated response. And I was actually listening to the Dave Webb show on my way back home. I was running some errands this morning. And what I found fascinating is that they compared Jasmine Crockett to Cortez, right? And if you remember when Cortez started, she was doing all these stunts. You know, she was going to the border and she was behind this fence, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're locking these people up. And it was like an unopened restaurant, and she was just standing behind a fence. You know what I mean? And people were like really finding out that she was a complete liar. But they're doing the same thing with Jasmine Crockett. But now with Cortez, you know, they've got her going around the country. She's all polished. And, you know, she did get the cattle call. They had a cattle call for her to be a representative in Congress. I need people to know that. She didn't just wake up one day and a bartender just decided to run. No, they had a cattle call. They had a rush call. These are documented facts. And then they prepped her to run for the House, and then they set it up so she could win. They literally set it up so she could win. I'm like, really? You're an unknown bartender and you ran for House seat and you got it? Stop that.
Peyton?
Stop that.
Both of y'all are absolutely correct, but I do want to go back and touch on the education piece. I am a strong advocate for reforming our public school system. Here in Fort Worth, half of our kids cannot read.
Yes.
It's bad nationwide, but here in Fort Worth, half of our kids can't read. And instead of our local leaders, no matter what color they are, actually step in and do something, we pay superintendents $1 million to quit. How is that helping?
Yeah.
How is that helping? But furthermore, if you look at who's actually enrolled into Fort Worth ISD, half of these kids are here illegally.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not attacking kids. I know kids are, they're off limits. But you don't have to be an accountant to understand that if half of the school district is here illegally, how can we possibly prioritize our kids? And you're absolutely right. There is a gap because when these people come here illegally, they're not going to gated communities. They're coming into our communities.
Mm-hmm.
But the masses in the Black community, a lot of them are uneducated on the effects of mass immigration. And Dre brought up the person that we have in common, Sheena Rodriguez. She handed me a book titled Back of the Hiring Line. That changed my whole outlook on everything. And if our community actually did the research and looked at Dr. Claude Anderson and looked at that letter from 1991 from Mrs. King, we would understand what's going on. But it's like all we want to do is joke about what a Black job is. It's not just Black jobs that are at stake. It's Black neighborhoods, Black schools, Black resources. But we'd rather make memes than to actually do the research. So yes, we can fault the politician, but I bring it back to the community. At what point do the woke people wake up?
Yeah.
Dre?
Yes, and I don't think that the woke people are going to wake up without any coaching. They got a butt whooping in the last election, and you would think that would kind of encourage them to come to the negotiation table, but they're doubling down and they're going further into their corners. And as much as I hate to say it, we need them to do their jobs in Congress so we can fix some of these things that happen in the Biden administration. We have to get past this resist culture because we're just furious and angry at a man named Donald Trump, who is now our president. And they are just totally negating what they're there to do. They're there to legislate. They're there to pass laws. They're there to promote the American values and our laws throughout the United States and in the world, and to encourage our and to do the will of the people. And that's not happening. That's not happening. There's just arguing. There's back and forth. Cory Booker's out there making 25-hour soliloquies. You know, it didn't block a bill. It's just stupid. Like, he could have used some of that time to go to talk to maybe the senator from Pennsylvania, who's been sensible, this entire administration, now that Trump's kind of taken over. So there's a lot that they can do that they're not doing.
Well, that's true, gang, because let me say this to you. All the black political people that are in office, that's a lot of power. And when you get that kind of power, you have to have good intentions on the people that put you in that place. And that's the problem I've been having. You would think that Cory Booker, what good did standing up 24 or 25 hours do for the black community?
Not a thing.
See, these are trivial and tribute things that the black politicians do, and they act like that. Well, you know what, man? Cory Booker was in the Congress for 25 hours, but that's not going to stop the crime. Cory Booker was up for 24 hours, but that's not going to bring economic development back to the black community, and that's what you're supposed to be doing, and that's what the people of this country need to do. Is we have to really start holding the politicians accountable. But more importantly, we have to start researching. We have to research people that we are going to vote for. I was the other day, and I'm going to pass this on. The other day, I was with some brothers, and we were sitting down talking about, the state of affairs of the country. And I don't understand how black people, after the past 4 years with the migrant crisis, you guys, they've been in our community. They've sucked up our resources. But they told us there was no reparations. But then you gave all sorts of money to the illegals. You put them on Social Security, Medicaid, housing. And I still got black people sitting under the tent here in Chicago. But the point that I'm making is, you would think black politicians from this point, from the very beginning, from Barack Obama, who was the first black president, all of them should be screaming about the fact that we can't do the black community like that. But and yet, all they talked about was Trump, and Trump wasn't even in office at the time. Your thoughts on some of the things that you think that could help us as a community from this point, because we look for solutions. What are some of the things that you think that we can do to educate our community and move some of these politicians out of the way that they're not being accountable and not doing their duties as they were elected to do? Dre, you want to take that one?
Yes, I got it. So I would encourage people that if they have questions about immigration, that they go to numbersusa.com. We have fact sheets. We have voter grade cards. You can see exactly how they voted. And, I'm focusing on a group of elected officials that voted for the Laken Riley Act. They're Democrats. And I'm like, okay, you guys took this step. It was an important step. Not everybody took this step. Are there other bills that you're willing to support? Are you willing to take another baby step in the right direction? So I'm trying to work across the line, but getting as much information as you can is important. Like the back of the hiring line, like Peyton mentioned, is powerful. You can read that, you get the whole 200-year view of how our immigration system has worked and how it's basically hurt Black Americans over time, over and over and over again. And that when we pulled back on some of that immigration, we reduced it. Black Americans actually had an opportunity to thrive for 41 years until they boosted immigration again.
Doc?
Yeah, so me, I've got the political party, so my drive is always running at the local level, because we can definitely see how at the federal level, they can run around and do all these shenanigans, but they're really not changing the lives of people at the local level the way the mayors can, the councilmen, the commissioners, and those are the people that actually hold the purse when it comes to your day-to-day lives. So I always encourage people to run locally, but, to talk to immigration, you know, back in the 70s in California, there were two individuals that were working housekeeping in the hospitality realm. And they said, you know, they won a case because they were basically discriminated against because they were paying lower wages to people that were here illegally. And they were forcing out those in the Black community that had well-paying jobs. And now, honestly, if you go to any hotel, you're not going to see people that look like us in the
No.
hospitality in that realm. And you know, a lot of this stuff is on purpose. You can look at the United Nations, how they're looking at replacement migration. So it's not so much that things are happening by happenstance, they're very much happening from our political leaders.
And you know what? You're so right, Doc. And that was one of the things that we talked about yesterday, the NAFTA agreement. Back in 1992, Ross Perot talked about the NAFTA agreement that Bill Clinton had put on the table. And just like yesterday when we discussed, and a lot of people didn't know, they thought that Bill Clinton did a great job with NAFTA. But basically, NAFTA was never any good for the American citizens because the clause that they had put in there that would allow these companies to stay in the United States, they took that out. And the companies, when they took that out and NAFTA was put in place, the United States manufacturing ran from the United States, ran overseas, set up shop, got the cheap labor, and then send their stuff back to the United States to sell with no tariffs. And that sound right there of losing manufacturing in the United States, it hurt the Black community. Because here in Chicago, we had people that worked at U.S. Steel. They worked at manufacturing places all over. Black people had good, high-paying jobs with those manufacturing companies. And once that these manufacturers left, it put a void into the Black community. And Doc, you're right. That's when we start seeing all those service jobs coming in, hospitality jobs that Blacks really didn't want to work, other service-type jobs that didn't pay a lot of money. I mean, the rate of income went down to like about 35 or 40,000, and the Black community continued to dwindle from that point. Your
But they
thoughts on
blocked
that?
us out. It wasn't that we didn't want them.
Yes, exactly.
That's what I was just about to say. I need a job right now. I can't get one. But it's not just hospitality, which is true, because I've maybe seen one Black person, but the rest it's for the Hispanic community. But as I live in Fort Worth, where if you go off Berry, every single chicken place, and it's not just chicken, but all the fast food place, we're not there. And
Yes.
I don't know what a Black job is, but maybe that frying chicken could be. But it's not again. It's not just jobs. It's our neighborhoods. It's our resources that they say we don't have. But as soon as someone hops over the border illegally, they get Social Security, they get disability, they get housing, food stamps, everything that they said that we didn't have, they hand over. And don't get me started on reparations, but all of you are correct. All of you are correct, but it takes for the community to stand up. We can't say that our vote is our voice and then start whispering.
Yes.
It's stupid. But it goes back to, are you willing to learn? Because I know more people that dissected Kendrick Lamar's lyrics before they went and researched who was on their ballot or Numbers USA and what they're talking about, or the back of the Iron Line. I tried to read it online. They just clown me on how slow I read out loud instead of dissecting what's in the book, dissecting
Yes.
what was in that letter from 1991, and actually understand that not everything that Trump says is funny. You should actually go back and research it. But we as a community, we hate Trump so much. It is so wasteful. And these are the same older Black people, men and women, that go to church every Sunday and say, "Thou shalt not hate." But you hate Trump just because you don't understand him. And I understand that he's a very blunt person, but if you just put your emotions aside and actually think logically and vote outside of your emotion, we might be able to get somewhere within the Black community.
But you know that has been the narrative, and that's how the Black community has been tricked so many times. You can see how the Democrats, operate. Under Barack Obama, we started seeing the downfall of the family under his leadership. passing the same-sex law. And then he placed people in certain places throughout the government because they knew they had to steal the 2020 election. They had to steal it because they gave it one final shot. You know what? When they got in and they stole that election, they came up with the transgender world. They went into the schools. They created holidays. I mean, everything that had something to do against the American family values, they did it. But it has been the Democrats who continue to, I want to say, try to get the Black community emotional, because that's what we're seeing right now. You know, they know if we get Black people all upset and we make them think that they're discriminating against the migrants, we can get them and the migrants together and we can be kumbaya. So you're talking about, you know, Urban League, Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, all of these NGOs are working against Trump, but actually they're working against the Black community because they should be fighting like hell to ensure that the Black community stays intact and that we're able to train our children. I want to play a quick clip and I'm going to get y'all thoughts on it, especially you, Miss Jackson. This is somebody that you know of down in your neighborhood.
The final thing that I'll say, because you've been gracious, is this. When I first became a public defender, I had no criminal defense experience. And I walked in and I told my boss, Charlie, I said, listen, you should hire me. He said, why? I said, because I'm Black. Charlie looked at me like I was crazy. Charlie offered me my job.
You can't make this shit up.
Y'all thoughts?
I'm disgusted. I made a post about it when I seen it, or when they started whining about DEI lately.
Yes.
Like I said, I'm looking for a job, but please do not hire me because I'm a woman. Please do not hire me because I'm Black, because it's literally asking for you to disrespect me. My employment requires respect. So I expect you to treat me and respect me like I'm a white man. I won't take anything less. But it's disgusting. Why would you? And it's the demographic, my demographic, that's the most educated in America. But we fight for DEI like we're DEI hires. I've never been a DEI hire, and nor will I ever be. It's demeaning. It really is.
Doc?
Yeah. It's sad because they use us, you know what I'm saying? They use our faces and our plight to push DEI, but we don't benefit from it, just like we didn't benefit from affirmative action. Everybody else does, but then they want to put the Black plight in front of that, like, you have to do this. It's like, stop that. We are not your emotional support pets. We're not. And when it comes to being employed, to Miss Jackson's point, you know, this is about my resume and what I bring to the table. This isn't about my gender. This isn't about, you know, my ethnic background. This is about what do I bring to the table? Speak to my references, you know, and what I've done in my past positions. That's what we need to really be focused on, not the color of our skin.
Dre?
And not to sound old fashioned, but what happened to good old hard work? You know, like when I grew up, my dad always told me, you know, I had to work harder than everyone else around me if I wanted to be the best. Yes. And I took that into the classroom. I took that everywhere I went. So when I applied for a job, I expect them to hire me for what I did, what was on my resume, and how they thought I would fit in the company. Right. That's all. I've never gone anywhere, hire me because I'm Black. That sounds ridiculous to me. I think that she should be ashamed of herself, because I know that her parents, you know, they're ministers, they're preachers. Like they didn't teach her that. So I don't know where she got that from.
Well, you know what, guys, what you all are saying is true, because of the simple fact is, you know, growing up on a plantation and being a sharecropper's son and coming to the city, you know, that's all we knew. We knew the hands-on type of experience because we picked and chopped cotton. That's what I saw my parents do. But when I saw my uneducated parents move to Chicago, my father become a manager for one of the top food retailers, Dominic's. My mother went on to work for silk screening companies that Playboy owned. They always told me this, and they taught me this. They said, no matter what you do, you can be a ditch digger. You be the best ditch digger that you can be. And that stuck with me, because when I dropped out of college and I bought my first business at 17, but I worked in a manufacturing firm as a welder. As a welder, I was the best. I was the top of my class. I made the $200 to $300 a night, and I was only 17 years old. And because of the fact that when I learned how to weld, I made it part of me. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be the best at whatever I'm going to do. And I did. And for 10 years of working in manufacturing, before I finally left, I ended up being an iron worker for the 111 Union in Rock Island. I mean, a journeyman making $40, $50 an hour. And that's the type of attitude that we as parents have to give to our children. We have to teach that and instill that in our children. You know, whatever you're going to do, you be the best at that. And when you got that type of attitude, you don't need a lot of support base. But when you exude that, people, believe me, I quit a job one day and got a job the same time, and hours later. So that's the type of attitude that we have to start teaching our children. But more importantly, we need the type of political leaders in office who can open up those type of doors that can bring manufacturing to us so that we do have jobs available for us. I'm gonna hit this other clip because Miss Jackson, I know you're in the same area with what's her name? Crockett. But anyway, I'm gonna play this and I want you to talk about her district.
Okay.
You could speak directly to Elon Musk. What would you say?
Fuck off.
That's it.
A few moments later.
Now, hold up, wait a
Everybody
minute.
knows who Jasmine Crockett is right about now. And, well, let's just say she's got the attention of Doge after all the crap she's been talking about Elon. Man, I see that you make $174,000 a year, but in the 18 months that you've been in the House of Representatives, you have purchased a $5 million house in Texas. You have a $2.5 million lake house. Elon and the United States government, along with so many more citizens, would love to know, Jasmine, how did you buy all that?
And we are back, and we're back.
Now, folks, let's talk about that. Miss Jackson, now, the community that she representing, you would think that that community would have everything, economics, that the schools would be great and all of that. Talk a little bit about her community that she represents.
So when I ran for Congress, I ran for Congressional House 33, which borders 30, which is the seat that she sits in. And in West Dallas, they're battling with a lot. One, they're battling with the schools. They're overran with illegal immigrants. They're battling with infrastructure. They're battling with environmental attacks from a plant called GAF. If you drive down Singleton by that community, by the library, you can literally smell the chemicals in the air. And this has been brought to the city. It's been brought to the commissioners. And it's even been brought to her and Mark Vesey, the man that I'll be unseating next year. They don't do anything. These Black politicians, they're super passive. But one of the things that I want to point out in her district, or in District 30, is when I was knocking on doors and introducing myself to the community, which I grew up in West Dallas, in this neighborhood, I went to the library, and I'm trying to figure out all of the programs that we have. And surprisingly, we have a free GED program. I was like, yes, that's great. I know a few people that, need this. And then the clerk was like, oh, no, we only have it in Spanish. Why? Couldn't give me an answer. They just pointed me down the street. And it that may seem small, but it starts somewhere. And between her and Mark Vesey, they're not knocking on doors. A lot of people didn't, in this neighborhood that I'm speaking on, they didn't even know that she was in office. They just knew her from TikTok fame, which granted, a lot of people, especially a lot of Black people, want to see combativeness in politics because they think that, oh, they're fighting for us. When in all actuality, that person is just a loudmouth, especially if you look at their voting record. But the majority of Black people in the Black community, we've never been to city council. We've never been to county commissioners. We only show up to school board if it's important with our kid. We've never even typed in congress.gov to research what these people are voting on and what they're supporting. So it's like, at what point in time do we hold the community accountable for supporting people like this? Because again, their vote is their voice.
I want to play another clip, guys. Hang on.
to go around the country and educate people about what immigrants do for this country, or the fact that we are a country of immigrants.
Right.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands. You're not. We done picking cotton.
Bruh.
We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation.
The question is, can it get any worse?
Of course.
When I first
I want to stop right there, guys. Your thoughts on what she just said?
It is getting worse. It is getting worse. And I'll go back to telling the community, go and read back of the hiring line. It makes a lot of sense. It's simple supply and demand. Why are we advocating for low wages? And this is the party that wants to increase the minimum wage. What sense does that make? You're advocating for low wages. That's why supposedly we don't want to work the jobs. I'll take the job. Offer it to me. I literally just said that I was looking for a job. It's not that we don't want to work. We're just not going to work for a tip wage. We're not about to go and pick something for $2 an hour, $3 an hour. Minimum wage shouldn't even be $7 an hour. But this is coming from the party that wants to increase minimum wage while also advocating for lower wages for crop pickers, simply because they want to replace the black vote. And, you know, I'll cite Dr. Claude Anderson there. I mean, he spoke about it all, but it's the black community that has to wake up.
Yeah. It's just sad, you know, because on one hand, you know, you try to say, well, you guys aren't going to do it. I'm like, why are you pegging these people to do it? Why are you advocating slavery? Do you know what I'm saying? You are literally advocating for slavery and at the same time saying, well, we know we're too good for this. No one's too good to work. Okay. The problem is everybody wants people to work for wages that they pay in Vietnam and in Cambodia. You know what I'm saying? They want to pay somebody $2 a day and then sell those pair of sneakers for $150. Right. And that's where it needs to stop. And we don't want that here, but they're bringing that here to America. You know, a lot of this is United Nations. It's a lot bigger than even these politicians that are bought and paid for. You know, the more she talks, I'm like, yeah, the more money they put in your pocket.
Exactly.
Because they assured you that you're going to be in office for so many years. Don't worry about it. We got you. Anybody that owns $10 million in assets, they're paid for.
And especially if they get they're only making 170 some thousand a year. Dre, your thoughts?
Yeah.
Well, she's going on the y'all don't want these jobs tour. This is not the first comments that she's made about immigrants. She's been putting immigrants on a pedestal. And, you know, it's because she's bought and paid for. It's because she's bought and paid for. This is a misinformation campaign. She's over there at a church evangelizing and highlighting the contributions of immigrants to this country in a black church. And I'm wondering, like, why isn't she talking to them about what the black community is doing? Why is she talking about immigrants? Well, she's talking about immigrants because Donald Trump has made it a part of his agenda to do what the American people asked him to do and to deport people that are here illegally. Yes. And because the Democrats are only in this resist because I'm pissed, mentality, they have decided that they're just going to continue to resist and continue to push back for reasons that don't even benefit their constituents.
And that's the problem right there. This is the perfect example of how our community got to the place that it is right now. It's almost desolated to the fact where there is no economics. There is no future for our children to even look, even to examine. You know, they see crime, they see drugs, they see this, and then they go online and they see somebody that they might think should be a role model for them, but yet here she is talking about how we need to embrace the illegal community because we ain't gonna pick and chop no cotton. But you know what? I take offense to it because I picked cotton before. I watched my parents work for $2 a day.
Right.
Okay. So I take offense to that because They worked their asses off to educate us. That generation right there that had a second and third grade, my dad had a third grade education, okay? But he still was a successful and created a middle class. They created a middle class where we, as their children, could hold our heads up high, who was given the generational wealth. You know what I'm saying? So we're not seeing that anymore. And more importantly, we have political leaders who are Black, who saw us coming up, and they paved the way, and they did what was right for us, not what you're seeing today. I'm going to play another little bit more of that and get y'all thoughts on it.
Became a public defender. I had no criminal defense experience. And I walked in and I told my boss, Charlie, I said, listen, you should hire me. He said, why? I said, because I'm Black. Charlie looked at me like I was crazy.
I'm tripping, I'm sliding, I'm riding through the back like.
Yeah.
So they are always focused on crime. They continue to say things like the illegals and that they broke the law coming in. It is not a criminal violation to enter the country illegally. It's not a criminal. It's a crime. It's not a crime.
Folks, now listen, you heard what she said. She said it is not illegal to come across the border, and it is illegal to enter the United States. Y'all, any of y'all can jump on. Y'all talk about that.
Well, it's a talking point because
It is.
What is going on is that this is the same thing that Abby on CNN is saying. It is a civil situation if they cross illegally, but they don't go on to say that if they're caught, it's a misdemeanor. If they are a repeat offender, then it is a felony. Right. So like it is illegal, whether it's a civil crime or it's a felony. It is illegal, and they are not to diminish that. But this is what they're going to try to do for the American people to normalize this. And this is the problem. This is the problem in Texas and some other places. Like illegal immigration has been normalized. People are used to going to class with illegal immigrants. People are used to like not working those types of jobs that they worked like 20 or 30 years ago because they've just gotten used to like the illegals filling those spaces, and they're fine with it. They're fine with it. And this is what we have to change. We have to explain to people why it's a problem. Explain to them who's hurting and how they're continuing to hurt themselves if they allow this to happen.
Yeah, it's a humanitarian crisis. It really is. And then it falls on the lap of the federal government because local government won't do their job and deport these people immediately. You shouldn't be here. Okay, we haven't even gotten and talked about the sex trafficking. That's an over $150 billion business, which is actually being facilitated by our federal government when we don't send these people back. It's being facilitated by our local government when we don't send these people back. You're okay with it. You're okay with children being raped. You're okay with women being raped. You're okay with all of this illegal activity. So it's really hard for me to look at politicians at the local and the federal level with a straight face, because I'm like, you guys are a joke. You are not doing your job for the American people, period.
Ms. Jackson?
She's one of the insane Democrats that voted against HR 7909, which would deport any illegal immigrant that was convicted of any sexual crime in regards to our women and children. And I had lost respect for her before that, but after that, I couldn't understand how anybody, let alone a woman, could vote like that. But my stance on illegal immigration is the only right that you should have after breaking into this country is the right to remain silent.
Yes, I love it. You know what? And that's the key to this whole thing of this. I don't understand how the Democratic Party keep trying to put it in the American people's head that it's okay for illegals to come to the country to be legal.
No, I mean they want a society that has blurred the lines between right and wrong, and so there isn't any, right? They want us to accept depraved behavior. They have, right?
Mhm.
Because if you accept depraved behavior, then who has the high moral ground? No one. You know, they've completely eroded it, and they've eroded it within policy, overriding the Constitution. We should not be here, especially
No.
because we have a republic and we, the people, don't want to be here. But for some reason, we have these little emperors running around that are in our House and our Congress, and they need to be dethroned.
Well, you know what? I want to say this, and because I got another clip I want to put in here. To the American people and patriots across this country, we have to take a look at our country and how it was 3 years ago. I keep saying it because what President Trump has done in the past less than 100 days, he's turned around everything and got this country back on track, even with the tariffs and situation. But again, we got political leaders, y'all. Let me say it. I have to say it. Y'all beloved Barack Obama, who can't do nothing wrong, who did everything wrong for black people. Black people, I'm going to tell y'all now, Barack Obama was the worst president that the United States ever had. Under his presidency, there was more black men killed by the police. He created laws to protect them, like the Blue Alert law. Under Barack Obama's leadership, we had more riots. We had everything wrong. What is it? Michael Brown riots in St. Louis, everything wrong. We had wars, and it's a pattern. It's a pattern that when Democrats get in office, they start wars. When Joe got into office, he started a war right away. He exacerbated Afghanistan, and when he couldn't get no more money out of Afghanistan, he turned around, and then Ukraine was invaded by Russia, which I think Ukraine started that, or Vladimir Putin got tired of them doing what they was doing, bringing drugs, homosexuality. They had COVID plants over there. So he had every right to do what he did. But I take offense to the House Negro, Barack Obama. Barack Obama never did nothing for black people. As a matter of fact, he hates black people. He's the king queer of all times, and his whole mission was to create a third generation called transgenders. Yeah. And that's his legacy. And black people, y'all need to wake up, because y'all beloved Barack Obama did nothing for the black community but created Black Lives Matter, who helped destroy our community, who made millions and millions of dollars off the black people price money. Oh, well, Black Lives Matter. But when you went to the website, they didn't give a crap about black lives, black people, real black people. It was about the queer, the homosexual, the pedophile, the transgenders. Those are the lives that Black Lives Matter cared about, not black people. So, Barack, let me drop this at y'all right quick, and we're going to talk about this before we get out of here.
To do with something more precious, which is, who are we?
Oh, hold up, right there. Now, look at the way he's sitting in that chair. Look how he all folded up like a chair, a folding chair. Men, real men, do not sit like this. You got it? So we know where he coming from with that. Let's go on with him.
As a country, and what values do we stand for? And now, this is not just an abstraction, and I think this is one of the challenges that we have. And I saw this even before the last election. I think people tend to think, democracy, rule of law, independent judiciary, freedom of the press, that's all abstract stuff because it's not affecting the price of eggs. Well, you know what? It's about to affect the price of eggs. One of the things that has distinguished us in the past has been this basic idea that we are a rules-based society. What that means is that, you know what, I can support one candidate instead of another, and I don't have to worry that the police are going to come harass me or my customers. That's what happens in other places.
Guys, I got to ask you a question. What is he talking about?
I don't know, because I was really trying to follow along, and I was like, bro, you are all over the. But see, that's the thing. He does not know how to talk off script. He's not good. He's an orator when he has the words. When he does not have the words, he has a very bad time, just like Kamala, collecting his thoughts and actually giving a direct answer or giving you some type of narrative to really follow. He's really trying to down people with the price of eggs, and we got to all supply and demand. If you kill 10 million chickens, you're gonna have less eggs. That's just basic. that's just basic, right? But you don't want to say that, and you can't say that because it was done under Biden.
Andre?
Well, continue with the eggs. The free range eggs that weren't in the factory, there was no disruption with them. Their prices did not go up that much at all during that time because those chickens weren't affected because they raised them the natural way. Like when you have these animals being raised in, these like factory like ways, this is not, and we have Americans and businesses taking shortcuts. It causes problems. But I couldn't follow what Barack Obama was saying either because, isn't what he's talking about happened to Trump? Like, isn't that like who, like Trump supporters are the ones that are getting harassed for like supporting him? I don't see that happening to Democrats at all. Like, I don't know where he was coming from.
Your thoughts, Ms. Jackson?
Excuse my language, but I don't know what the hell he was talking about. I tried to follow along. I really did, because usually he's a good speaker sometimes. But I don't know what he was talking about. But in regards to eggs, I mean, I preach self-sufficiency. So even if I didn't live in Fort Worth, where if you don't have a chicken, you're just rare. There's chickens everywhere in Fort Worth. So we're pretty much self-sufficient when it comes to eggs. But I mean, things go up, things go down. I mean, I'd rather live under Trump than under Obama. He didn't do anything major. From what I remember, which I couldn't vote at the time, but from what I can remember, the majority of the Obama administration was just queer. It was LGBT.
Yes.
They got, that was their administration. So I mean, I'm not really concerned.
Well, that's the reason why. And when he first came out, I know Barack. I met him and we was friends for a while. But when I really saw what his real agenda was, I started to speak out against it here in Chicago. And a lot of people that knew me, they was like, "Well, Pastor, y'all was friends. You just talk." I said, "No, this guy does not have the Black community at best interest. He never had." See, let me say this. All of them had a mission. See, Barack Obama's mission was to introduce the homosexual law and get everybody all upset on their side to make them think, well, okay, that'll be great that they can get the insurance if they are a couple like us. But see, when they got that law, they went to a whole nother level. They started putting it in the schools. They started creating other legislation to come against us. They started taking parental rights away from. I mean, that was the first guys. And so when Donald Trump got in and Hillary Clinton didn't get in, then that threw a wrench into the mix, because now their mission was to do what Joe Biden did right behind Barack's term. We're gonna start the war. We're gonna come up with COVID. We're going to do everything. So when Trump got in, he sort of threw them off. But Trump knew what they were going to do. And so that's the reason why they had to demonize him.
Yeah.
They started to demonize him. And black people, I was so ashamed of black people. Well, that old Trump, the orange head Cheetos. As soon as he got into office, he gave people on welfare a raise. Okay. he throw more money into the tube for stamps and everything else. But then the psychological thing that black people was doing, they wanted the things that he was doing because he was helping the country, but they still talked about him like a dog. Go ahead, Ms. Payton.
The support of the Obama administration from the Black community, it speaks to the hypocrisy, because 90% of the elder Black community, they don't agree with any of the LGBT plus people. It's crazy. We know that we don't agree with this, and it speaks to how conservative the Black community is, but we don't want to admit it, and it's insane. But the fact that we are even thinking about discussing gender studies or trans this or any type of ideologies like that in school before we talk about something like credit or taxes or construction is just insane. And I don't understand it. But again, I place the majority of the blame on the community. At what point in time do we hold people accountable? We can't just hold the Republicans accountable. This is a two-party system, right? So we need accountability on both ends of the aisle.
But that's what the Democrats have been doing. They've been playing the type of politics where, and they think black people are, see, the black community has woke up for real. See, when we went to the polls here in Illinois and we put up 47% for the Republican Party, that sent a strong message to these Democrats here. And I guarantee you, J.B. Pritzker, you will not be the next governor of Illinois because the black people done seen under your dress, and we know you ain't no man now. We're going to stand on what we supposed to stand on, and we're going to throw your ass out of office. So you and that weak Barack Obama need to sit down all folded up in a chair like a woman. Men don't sit like that. Just the sheer fact of seeing his ratchet butt like that makes me sick to my stomach. I'm going to put a little bit more on there, and we're going to talk about that and get out of here.
That's what happens in Russia. We take for granted the idea that we don't have to pay bribes or hire somebody's cousin in order to get a business permit.
Mr. DEI.
Are you sure about that?
That's how we build.
Let me stop.
Are you sure about that? Because not only did you write policy to do that, you did it. You allowed people to come over here illegally and give them business licenses over people that work here in the community while telling that community, we don't have resources for you. We can't give you this business license. If you go to any black community, there's everybody there that doesn't speak the language, that doesn't look like them, but they own businesses taking away black dollars. It's horrible.
Dre?
Yeah, and they own houses too. Like a lot of the business loans are given to immigrants as well. And housing loans are given to immigrants as well. So they they get a leg up there. So and even there was a church in Chicago, and they were praising this church for giving this house to these illegal immigrants that came in like 2 years ago. Like, where are the black families that have been there for years, still homeless or still living in like an apartment? How come you guys didn't decide to give them a house?
They live in. Go ahead, Ms. Payton.
Did y'all see what happened in California right after the Democrats shut down the reparations? They had some type of housing bill that they were trying to get passed, giving 0% interest, $0 down to illegal immigrants. And this is all while ignoring the legacy of redlining. Now, my background is in accounting. And because all of 90% of my clientele was black, I was so furious on their mindset of, oh, the bank isn't going to approve me. You have to have financial statements in place. And while that is still true, had I known at the time that people are able to cross over our border and get everything that we're denied for, I wouldn't have said anything. But I do want to shout out Chicago Flips Red. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I love them. I love how they stood up. That they are so rare in this country. I don't know any group like that in the state of Texas. So shout out to them. I love them. I love them.
Yeah. Well, and let me say this. Those organizations, they were vocal. And all of us played a role. and to turning Chicago red. You know, we had people like P. Ray and the sister that was down there. They was giving Brandon Johnson hell. Every city council meeting, they are there because they watch and we watch Brandon Johnson dole out millions of dollars to illegals, millions of dollars to outside contractors because they got kickbacks to the American people and patriots across this country. The reason why these Democratic mayors and governors continue to dole money out because they keep most of the money and give the migrants pennies on the dollar. As they continue to drain all programs for the American people who are down on their luck. They drained out Medicaid. They drained out the rental programs. They drained out all sorts of job programs. Just like here, what I faced personally with the jobs program, with the Divine Nine, the Urban League, the Cook Workforce. You're talking about all of these places, a safer foundation. They have written into legislation to get millions and millions of dollars to say they're going to help the Black community. And instead, they're taking taxpayer dollars and helping illegals with housing, keeping them from getting deported, all of these things. And that's the big problem. It's people like Barack Obama and all these organization type, fraternity, sorority type people who are now in our legislation. They're the ones stealing the money from the Black community. See, this is a Black on Black crime situation. See, those elite Negroes who think that they're not Black anymore, who went and made a deal with his master to keep us out and to keep us down. And so I'm telling to the American people, especially Black Americans, we have to start running for office. We can't let all these educated people come into our communities and say, because they bought a piece of property over here, say, well, you know, I'm down with the community. And then they get in office, they go back to their gated communities, they come in the city, they continue to buy property, and not one penny goes to the Black community that they're buying this stuff in, because it's about making money off Black people and creating a new race of Black people that are elite. I'm going to take some more Barack Obama, then we're going to get out of here. Y'all, we got one more session.
The economy we did. That's why this place worked.
What economy?
It has very concrete
what the hell is he talking about?
On all of our lives. So, this is the first time I've been speaking publicly for a while.
Yeah, without your teleprompter.
Yeah. Let me just close this portion of my remarks by saying it is up to all of us to fix this. It's not going to be because somebody comes and saves you. The most important office in this democracy is the citizen, the ordinary person who says, no, that's not right. And I do think one of the reasons that our commitment to democratic ideals has eroded.
Age timers.
Is that we got pretty comfortable and complacent. You know, it has been easy during most of our lifetimes to say you are a progressive, or say you are for social justice, or say you're for free speech, and not have to pay a price for it. And now we're at one of those moments where, you know what, it's not enough just to say you're for something. You may actually have to do something and possibly sacrifice a little bit. So, yeah, if you're a law firm being threatened, you might have to say, okay, we will lose some business because we're going to stand for a principle. If you are a university, you may have to say, figure out, are we in fact doing things right? Have we in fact violated our own values, our own code, violated the law in some fashion? If not, and you're just being intimidated, well, you should be able to say, well, that's why we got this big endowment. You know, we'll stand up for what we believe in, and then we'll pay our researchers for a while out of that endowment, and we'll give up the extra wing.
Okay. All right. You know what? That's enough of that clown. Okay. I have to just say it
The
like
only
that.
thing I agreed with that he said was that we have to do the work. I did agree when they keep shouting out, we're a democracy. No, we're not. We're a republic with democratic tendencies and quasi-socialism. Let's just be correct on that. We are a republic. It is we the people. He's right. And we can come after all of them as we the people.
And they should too, man, because Barack needs to be in jail, Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden's them, all of them need to be in jail. And I hope my friend Kash Patel, who is the director of the FBI, they working on you right now, Barack. So you're looking like you ain't had much sleep, and you're looking like you ain't had much to eat. And the way you stumbling and fumbling with that mic, it sounds like Alzheimer's. Folks, listen, we got to get out of here, but I want to give this show, it sets us apart because we tell the truth. You might not like what pastors say, but I'm just going to give it to you in the raw because that's what needed. We don't need no more sugarcoating. And the Let the Truth Be Told network is bringing on. We're almost finished. And we're going to have our Roku channels. We're going to have everything going. And Miss Payton and Mr. Barnes are one of the shows that's going to be on our network. Welcome aboard, folks. Y'all can talk a little bit about what y'all think about coming aboard with us.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. I think that Payton is the right person to start this information campaign to reach the community about what's going wrong with our elected officials, what's going on with some of these policies that are affecting their communities. And I think that we're going to dole it out in a way that people are going to be like, you know, I never really thought about this before. Let me consider this.
Payton?
I am super excited. When Dre sent me the message, I don't know if it was a message or an email, but regardless, it's an honor. I've learned so much within the Black community from Numbers USA and the people that he surrounds himself with. I'm more than willing to put that on the front burner for our community with PB&J Hour, because it is really about the information. There's a lot of ignorance in our community, and some people, they'll hear that word and they take an offense to it, but ignorance is just a lack of information. Now, there's two terms. We have ignorance and then we have ignorance. Ignorance is you don't want the information.
Right.
So that's what I feel like we'll have to battle with. I've gotten a lot of pushback from that speech that went viral recently, even though there's no rebuttal. You just hate the facts, but they're all facts. So I'm excited.
Well, you know, that's what this is about. And I'm going to let Doc expound on this before we get out of here. Doc, your thoughts on everything that's going on? Because you and Dre are the catalysts. You know, y'all sitting back there, y'all making sure everything get done. And I'm going to be out there beating the pavement. Oh, by the way, I want to send a special shout out to Latricia Huge. She's coming aboard the network. She's out of Georgia down there where you at, Doc.
Yeah, she's in Loganville. Yep, I know where she is.
So I spoke to her this morning, so they'll be a part of the network. I got a surprise for you guys. It's growing like crazy. I'm getting calls from different great shows. So our lineup will be 24/7. And I encourage us, let's find sponsors because we want to take over some slots like Real America Voices. When we push this out there, and I know people that has direct contact with them. I know David Zier, Steve Bannon, Ben Bergquam, all of them are friends of mine. They're waiting for this network to pop out because they're going to work with us closely and feed us information. So we'll be a part of a great network. Doc, your last words, and we're going to start to get out of here.
Okay, well, thank you, Peyton and Andre. I'm so excited to have everybody on board. I'm so excited for this network. It's going to change a lot of people's lives. And I just want to remind everybody out there, when you see all these things happening, just look up, for your redemption is drawing near. And with that, please check out the USA Redemption Party. We're looking for candidates to be servants of the people, not politicians, and also members of our party to help the party grow, especially at the local level. So thanks everybody for being here, and check out usaredemptionparty.com.
Last words, Dre.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about Jasmine Crockett. She voted against women. She voted against a budget policy that would have put more money to protect our interior enforcement. And she also voted against, she actually voted for a bill that allows illegal immigrants to hide in safe spaces like churches and things of that nature. We have to do a better job of protecting our country and our border. Come to Numbers USA, get the fact sheets, look at how your elected official voted, and then also you can take an action and send your elected official a message and let them know that you're satisfied with what they're doing or you're not satisfied.
Ms. Jackson, your last words?
Of course, thank you. My name is Peyton Jackson, and you can follow along with my progress at notaxingwithjackson.com.
Thank you so much, folks. And I'll be seeing you. We'll be putting things together. And believe me, it is going to be an honor to work with these people. Folks, I really want to thank you for tuning in. Our new network is really going to take off. We got a lot of great programming that's going to be here. And we want people to tune in. We're going to make sure that you get all our information where you can find us on Roku and Fire and Apple and everywhere. All those platforms will be available to us. So you can watch Let the Truth Be Told and our other shows that are going to be at the network. These are my last words. To the American people and patriots across this country, we can see exactly what the Democrats have done. They have done nothing to uplift this country. They've done everything to destroy it. And now that we can see their whole mission, it's not about the American people. It's not about black people. It's not about white people. Because the Democratic Party has sold its soul. They don't care about us. If they did, they never would have opened the borders and did all the things we saw under the Biden-Harris administration. So we now have to support President Trump. We have to be very, very careful. And we have to watch and make sure we don't let people like Barack Obama sitting around trying to figure out ways how he can help illegals stay in this country. We have to be careful who we elect, like Kamala Harris, that can't hold a sentence, but yet talk about doing good things, but do bad things. We, the people of the United States of America, needs to understand that the only way that this country can get back to the place that it used to be, we have to support the current day administration. We are a republic, and we, the people, are the ones who control the United States of America. And saying that, folks, I'm going to get on up out of here. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Have a great evening.